I like this little connect that I see in Tampa. Now, what I saw in Buffalo was, for the first time, the team, well, I don't want to say the first time, because we saw it in Miami. That was the only time we saw it. But we saw the team in Buffalo that we've been talking about that looks like, okay, this is the team that was going to give Kansas City a run, that was going to be one of the top teams in the AFC. And let me tell you why we saw that. What we saw earlier was, okay, we saw the one guy, we saw Stephon Diggs, and we saw Stephon Diggs make a lot of great plays. But yesterday, I saw other players get involved. I saw Buffalo spread the ball around. Buffalo had four players with 5+ receptions and over 50 yards. Never before in Josh Allen's career. Now, you get Josh Allen with that arm and those legs, the ability to make plays with his arm, the ability to make plays with his legs, and now you don't know where that ball is coming and where he's throwing that ball. That makes it a lot different. That makes it a lot different. That makes this a tough team to beat. Now, when they're playing this way, other guys are pitching in, they can put up easily 30 points. I know they only put up 24 last night, but they can put up 30 points, and it's going to take that key to keep them in the race with those top teams in the AFC, like Kansas City and that team that I'm falling in love with, that Skip picked named Baltimore Ravens. I need to see one more week out of. We'll talk about that later.
All right.
We'll talk about that later. But they did look good last night, and they spread the ball around. That's the key.
No, they absolutely look good. And this Jekyll and Hyde effect that they've had all season long, you lose to a team that you probably shouldn't lose to, then all of a sudden you bounce back and you reel off a couple victories. This is the opportunity for them last night. This was the opportunity for them last night to do it again. And so they took care of business against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was balanced on both sides of the field. I'd like to see them run the football out of the backfield with James Cook a little bit more. I don't want to take anything away from Josh Allen's legs, but I certainly don't want my quarterback having to run the football nearly as much, even though he's dynamic when he does it. I just fear something, okay? Now, when you look at him last night, he got rolled up on, I don't know if it was his shoulder or his ankle, but he had to go in the tent. Then all of a sudden, we're looking at Kyle Allen warming up. So that, to me, scares me a little bit. And I know the Buffalo Bills fans was probably holding their breath trying to figure out exactly what took place there. But he came back in the game, and like you said, Michael, the distribution of the peel is extremely important. Stephon Diggs is going to get his, regardless to what it is, because he's the #1 target. But when you have others like Davis and Kincaid and those guys stepping up and contributing, you're going to always win football games. You know, defensively, I like to see that knee brace come off of Von Miller so he could actually go get the quarterback. I mean, I was really, Skip, zooming in on him and watching him to see his get-off. Yeah. It just wasn't quite there, but I think it's the knee brace kind of still a little tender holding him up.
That's more mental probably than anything. You get the knee brace right in that area because you know it's going to be a lot of falling around your legs right now, and he doesn't want to go through that.
And once he gets fully healthy, I think that, you know, obviously they're missing Milano on the linebacker position, but once he gets fully healthy, I think this team sits right around that 4-5 marks, because we still got to see Cincinnati in the AFC. They're not quite Kansas City. They're not quite Baltimore, but then they've already beaten Miami. Okay, we love Miami's explosive offense and the things that they're capable of doing, but they already got one in the back pocket on Miami. Even though they lost to New England, they're still right underneath Miami. And then if they can catch Miami, who knows at that point, Skip, whether or not they're the team to actually win the AFC East.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate everything you both said about the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to be Baker-centric because I do love me some Baker Mayfield, and I'll be the first to admit to you his career is teetering as we speak. I thought he played okay last night. He did some good things, and he did some not so good things. And I'm going to remind everybody his rushing game, his running game ranks 29th in the NFL because they just can't run the football. And I'm going to remind everybody that their leading sacker is Vita Vea, and he did not play last night, so they have little to no pass rush because there were times Josh Allen just stood and stood and stood back there until he finally decided to hit somebody with a wide-open pass. All right. The weird thing about Baker Mayfield is he can struggle through points of the game, but late in games, he gets weirdly clutch because he guts it up and he plays hard and he gets a little like psycho. And it's almost like a little Tebow-esque where he gets more accurate late in games than he was during the bulk of the game. So late in the game, he starts dropping some dimes. And he threw one, if I could show you, this one's to Mike Evans that was not caught in the back of the end zone that would have given him a little more time maybe to make this a football game, but it's still 24-10. He throws a deep ball to Mike Evans. I thought this was a heck of a throw. This hits Mike Evans in the hands. I know it's a tough catch, but you guys make that catch. I think you do because it hits Mike in the hands. He's really good. You know, again, is he going to be able to toe tap? It's a close call. But my point is, that's a good throw.
It's a good throw. He threw it where only his guy can catch it.
That is correct. That is correct.
The problem with that particular catch, though, Skip, is it's at the fingertips. So if it's at the fingertips, the defender, it's not in the palm, it's at the fingertips. So the fingertips are a lot weaker than the palm of the hand, so the defender can swipe through and it came out of it.
You're scared to extend any more because you were toe tapping that line. If you extend any more, you're afraid.
So then Baker got a little lucky on a throw to Mike Evans that scored a touchdown because it hit the defender's helmet.
That throw, though, when it left his hand, based on the way he matriculated the football, I said, oh, that's a touchdown. I swear. And without getting there, I'm like, oh, that's a touchdown.
And then the two-point try, it gets tipped up in the air and K-Dot and catches it. Okay, it's a little lucky, but all of a sudden, it's a 6-point game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, on a third down play, Buffalo cannot get the necessary yards. And all of a sudden, they're faced at midfield with, should we go for this and end the game? And they punt. All right, so all of a sudden, Baker's got one last gasp, and he hits 3 straight passes for about 20 yards, and then we get to a Hail Mary. You guys, you know Hail Marys. Keyshawn, you know Hail Marys from both sides of the ball because you defended Hail Marys as well as caught them. This is, talk about a heck of a throw. This is a sensational Hail Mary throw. Baker has to duck the rush and step up under and get a little momentum forward, which helped get a little more muscle behind the ball. Get a little more on it, and it drops to nobody in the middle of the end zone. Chris Godwin could not find it. I don't know if he lost it in the lights. He got turned around.
What you want to do, though,
it's like just reach out and catch.
What you want to do is you want to turn around before you enter into the end zone.
Okay, good point.
About the 1 yard line, you kind of want to start to track the football,
find the football
if you can. And then Mike Evans on the flip side of things, he actually should be the guy in the middle as the jumper.
There's a point man. You go back, you'll see at the beginning, the point man lines up in the middle. He's going to go all the way down. That's Mike Evans, I would imagine, because he's the big guy. And he's supposed to turn around. Now, Godwin should go in back of the point man just so he can tip the ball back, and the other receivers in front of the point man so he can tip the ball forward. That's the strategy.
They're almost there. If you see the guy in the front, I don't know who that is, but he's being doubled. So he can't get there. He falls on the ground.
And let me explain something. Let me say, Skip, I hated the Hail Mary.
Because?
Most receivers do. You see what they're doing right here?
I like it, though.
See that push. You see how they're pushing Mike Evans?
They're just pushing him all over the place.
Because the point man, they're smart enough to know we got to keep the point man off the point. We got to keep him off his spot.
He's 6 feet 5 inches tall. Go ahead.
See, I guess I liked it, though, because I was taller than everybody, so I actually scored a couple touchdowns, as well as a couple interceptions in college and in the pros.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I liked it.
Let me tell you why, Skip. All this pushing going on, you never going to get a call. They're never going to call this. They're never going to call. And so you're just fighting through it.
Except the Green Bay game in Seattle. That time they called it in the Green Bay-Seattle game. They called it.
All right, but in all the Hail Marys you've ever seen, I can't remember one that just dropped uncontested right in the middle of everybody in the end zone. It just falls and hits the turf.
Yeah.
Nobody even touched the football. Usually it's a scrum. It's a rugby fight.
If he could have turned around.
I know. If he just turned, it's right there.
He could track
it. And even Mike Evans, I'm fighting those guys. I'm swinging at them because I want the ref to see this.
I agree.
I'm fighting. Get out of the way, and the ref, maybe you get a call.
And Skip, you talked about the Bucs not being able to run the football. You're never going to be able to run the football if you don't attempt. 17 attempts is not enough.
Yeah,
I don't care if they are
don't
stuffing you.
They don't
but if they're one thing that I learned in professional football from many of my coaches that love the running game, 17 attempts is not enough. I don't care. I don't care if we got 2.5 yards.
Yeah.
Stick with it, because 1 or 2 or 3 of them at some point is going to pop. I don't want Baker Mayfield throwing the football 42 times.
Right.
I know you love him. I like him, but I don't want him throwing 42 times.
I'm with you.
Give me some balance.
I got
all
it.
That Mike Evans, and they put so many guys on Mike Evans yesterday. They've kept so many guys on.
How many did he get? He got 3. Didn't he get 3 targets? He got 6 targets for 3 catches. So they're tripling him every time. They're saying you can't have him.
Right.
And one time Baker did get it to him. There's a holding call.
On the deep crosser. The deep crosser.
All right. Allow me to go back to the Hail Mary one more time to the point you made. This is my pettest peeve in pro football, because you should call it the way you always call it.
Right.
If that kind of contact on Mike Evans in the end zone had happened any other place at any other moment in that football game, 3 flags are flying, because that they are just, they're pushing him, they're shoving him, they're impeding him, because you can, quote unquote, get away with it because it's a Hail Mary. Why should you be able to get away? I like your point, Keyshawn, because once upon a time in Seattle, they said, no, that's just a flat out, you interfered.
What happens in this situation is it becomes offset penalty, because the offensive players are pushing, the defensive players are grabbing and holding and pulling you to the ground. So you keep the flag. If you throw the flag, it's offsetting. Right. You don't want it to be offset. You want to get out the building.
Gives me another play.
But if they, for some reason, no playmaker, they decide to not give you offset and call you for pass interference, then you'll be saying something different.
But right here, I totally understand, and I totally understand what Skip's saying. But right here, I would love for Mike Evans to be fighting back, just to fight back. You're saying, ref, call this. Call this
when the ball bounces on the ground, Mike just throws his hands up like, what are you doing?
Be an actor, in other words.
Okay, all right. But again, was it pass interference? It's just blatant. It's like outrageous. It's so much pass interference that no.
Here's his pass interference, and the guy at the front of the goal line that falls to the ground is literally being tackled. So what is that?
I mean,
you can't call it.
Is it just because it's in Buffalo and the crowd is crazy?
Being tackled.
No, I got it.
I think that's Cade Otten. He's being tackled.
Being tackled. But I'm just saying, this is Buffalo, and I don't think they want to end the game with a penalty and give Baker 1 play from the 1-yard line.
No, they're never going to call it. The last time I saw it ever called was in Seattle, Skip. They just won't call it.
You said last time, you really mean probably the only time.
Maybe that's
what you really mean.
That may be the case as well.
Okay, could Baker have gotten the ball in the end zone from the 1 with 1 more play? I don't know, but I'd like to have seen it. I would like to have seen it because I think he deserved 1 more play. The point is, they have now fallen to 3 and 4, have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And that's the question, Skip. Does he deserve, for what you see so far, another year?
Let's go Saints.
Yeah, I know. You're back in business now.
Let's go Saints.
Those ain'ts, they're back in business. So I thought for a while Tampa was going to take control. It looked like they had taken control. So now we're to Baker's career. If they continue to lose close games, I'm telling you, there's a chance he's going to be relegated to maybe somebody's backup quarterback for the rest of his career.
Well, look,
Tampa, Baker, that's why I started this talking about it. I didn't think Baker played I didn't think Baker played horribly, and I love the fight in Baker. I love the fight in Baker. That fourth quarter, those plays he made, he got run. I don't know how he got out of that 1 sack. I don't know what that was. That 1 sack, that twirly thing, he went and ran. I mean,
he can escape.
That's guts, man. That's fight. I thought Baker did.
Here's what I would say, Skip, to his career. What I see happening is, as time goes on and they continue to not put the wins on the board, they'll go to Trask because they need to see what he looks like.
Probably.
But if he continues to keep them in contention, because this is a sorry division, and they stay in contention, he'll have an opportunity to be back in Tampa as a quarterback. They may draft a guy, they may look to get a veteran, whatever the case is, to compete with him. But I think if he can keep them in contention, he'll have an opportunity. If not, then what you said is true. He will probably be moving on if he wants to continue to play football and be somebody's potential backup until something goes wrong where he becomes a starter.
I know Tampa I think they're looking to see if they can make something out of this Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans connection.
Yeah,
because they got to make a decision on Mike Evans also. Remember, they got the trade deadline coming up. People are talking about Mike Evans. I like what I see between Baker and Mike Evans, and obviously they do too, and all defenses do too, because that defense yesterday just said somebody else got to beat us. We're not going to give you Mike Evans. Everybody's recognizing that combination. That's why I say maybe they run with this.
I forgot about his deal up. I forgot about that.
Well, what, Mike Evans?
Yeah, you might want to pick up the phone to your old boss, man, and sniff around there.
Right. When you talk about going to trash, then that means when you go away from Baker Mayfield, you're saying now, okay, we're in full rebuild mode. You're in full rebuild mode. All of these guys, all of the veterans, all those, we got to get rid of all of these veterans now because we're in full rebuild mode, and I don't think they want to go there.
Well, in order to do that, though, Skip, the deadline is next week.
Yeah.
So you got to make a decision right now if that's the way you want to go. Otherwise, you stay the course and see how the season goes. If you get to the last 3 or 4 games and you are out of contention, you certainly want to see what Trask has.
Okay,
no
but
question.
To your point about Dallas and Mike Evans, CD's, he's going to want CD money, right? Okay, so that's the problem. Can you pay two of them?
They all want the same money, man.
No, I got it. All right, back to the Buffalo Bills. This is just me, and this is I feel about the Bills the way you do about CD. What have you told me, Keyshawn, several times? There's just something missing. That's what you think. I don't. Michael, I don't thinks that. But the point is, with the Bills, I watch and I think there's still something missing. Well, right now, obviously, Matt Milano is missing, and Tre'Davious White is missing, and Von Miller is still missing because he's not right yet. But there's something in Josh Allen where he has been a turnover machine, and you can just about count on him to give you the football once, twice, 3 times a game. Even last year, what was it? They played 18 games. I think he had 23 turnovers in 18 games. He had one last night. It was a little unfortunate. Ball got tipped up in the air. But there's always a little something missing where they struggle to put people away. And they struggled last night to put that team away. And Tampa is not they're not a powerful football team. They shouldn't have been in that game last night.
No, they shouldn't have been in the game.
But they can beat you. But they can beat you.
And Buffalo failed to score on multiple opportunities inside the red zone.
They did.
Cash in with points. So Buffalo's got to figure out in the end how to close things out. They, too, in my opinion, didn't run the football nearly enough to James Cook. He had a couple nice little runs. He averaging about 5 yards a pop. I'll take that all day long because that's going to put you in short and medium with no question at all. For whatever reason, though, I think they still are trying to figure out, or Ken Dorsey's still trying to figure out how to call a game, the flow of a game on the offensive side of the ball, because that's their strength right now is the offense. It's not their defense.
Yeah, it's Josh Allen is their strength. That's why when I started this, I talked about him being able to get the ball to so many different people because he is the focal point of this team and the focal point. That right here, this is what we're going to see. When we talk the run game for the Buffalo Bills, it's going to be Josh Allen. That's why they gave him all the money. He is the franchise. But when they get other guys involved and not just Stephon Diggs, this team can be tough, and it's hard to beat. And they need to win games because they need to play in Buffalo. They're different in Buffalo. They're different at home. They won the last 7 at home, 13 of the last 14 at home. Any chance Buffalo has at going to where they want to go, they got to win enough games to get everything back in Buffalo.
So a very young receiver emerged last night for the Buffalo Bills named Dalton Kincaid. And Michael Irvin, I sat here in this very chair and pounded this desk before the draft that the Dallas Cowboys should snatch up Dalton Kincaid to replace Dalton Schultz at tight end. And he had impressed me the most, Keyshawn, against your Trojans in the regular season game. I don't think he played in the championship game, but he's just a stud.
With 22 catches.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Crazy.
I said that kid can really play because he's 6'4". He's kind of your size, maybe even slightly bigger than you, and he can flat out move. And that was his coming out party was last night. And then Buffalo snatched him, and we wound up with Mozzie Smith, who is yet to make an impact, but we'll see. Maybe it's still to come. But he's not getting that many snaps yet, which is a little disturbing to me. But Dalton Kincaid is going to become Josh Allen's best friend, slowly but surely here. And he was last night in the big moments. All right. I think it's time to move on to the Los Angeles Lakers. They played at home last night, barely survived the Phoenix Suns. Wait a second, the Phoenix Suns without Book and Beal? Really? Should Laker fans be encouraged or discouraged after last night? That is next. No mercy, no mercy, no mercy. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.